Welcome to Balance Boldly podcast for ambitious women in business and a few brave men. I am Naketa Thigpen, your host and balance and relationship advisor, partnering with you to change the narrative and amplify intimacy within your relationship so you can have the freedom, flexibility, and confidence to thrive in work, life, and love. My personal mission for this and every episode of the Balance Boldly podcast is to serve you with the tools you need for moving beyond just barely surviving the burnout of work and life, over those narrow hills of imposter syndrome, and through the barriers preventing you from being and doing greater. All right, everybody, my bold and brave, I'm so excited that you are here. We are in season 14. Can you believe it? We are in season 14. We got through all of the imposter syndrome of mindset matters just last time in season 13, just a few weeks ago, with all those great people that we had on the show. And now we are going bigger, we are going deeper, we are going greater, because now we're in growth matters. All things growth matters. So every single expert that you will hear from this season is someone who can speak to what it means to have a growth mindset and to grow personally, professionally, relationally, financially, and spiritually. So I want you to know that you are in for an incredible ride, and we are starting off extremely well with this beautiful, wonderful, magical woman that I am bringing to you today. I am so excited when I link with phenomenal women. And I was just telling her right before we started this, and I didn't even mean to share this with you, but I'm going to share it anyway, because why not? That's what we do on the show. She is truly phenomenal. I am extremely impressed with her resume, her background, and her passion as a multi-passionate entrepreneur and advocate. Ladies and gents, I bring to you Ritu Chopra. Ritu is founder and president of Everest Consulting LLC, an author, a TV show host, film producer, director, motivational speaker, and certified executive and leadership coach. There's no wonder we connected, of course. She has 22 plus years of experience in Fortune 500 companies, serving in IT operations, global financial, life sciences, healthcare industries, and you name it. In addition, one of her famed books is The Art of Life and Mastering Life. She also has a book on exploring your untapped potential to reach new heights. Host and executive producer of the TV show Despite the Challenges. I don't know why I can't talk today, but we're going to get this right. Despite the Challenges, and at Princeton Public Access TV. She is also an advocate for domestic violence awareness and prevention efforts. This woman is just doing her thing. But I can't stop there, because she has filmed a series of award-winning documentaries to help domestic violence victims and survivors to find their road to recovery and a safe path in life. In addition to all of that, she has multiple certifications in NLP. For those of you who are unfamiliar, that's neuro-linguistic programming. She's an executive coach, Six Sigma Black Belt, Green Belt, all of those things that I probably said even more than I should have, because I'm like sharing her whole life with you. Ritu, welcome to Balance Boldly. How are you doing today?
I am excellent. Thank you so much for those gracious introduction. I am thrilled to be on this show and kicking off your Growth Matters. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to have you kick off this season. This is phenomenal. I got tongue-tied and twisted with your ridiculously immaculate background, which is just the short, right? Like the high level of it, but it's so many layers. I didn't want to leave any of the really juicy parts out. Please tell everyone who's listening on Balance Boldly right now, like just who you are as a woman and how you got into the space that you're in with the so many various multi-passionate places that you're in and managing it all.
All right. Again, thank you so much for the introduction. You really graciously explained about my background. That's professional background. And on a personal level, I think I'm going to start from there, who we are as human beings. Mm-hmm. First of all, I think we have to become human beings to be who we are. And that's where in the frenzy of competitions and just, what life throws at you, we forget to be humans. And being human brings us to our core values that we really admire or live by or want to live by or just be, have that sense of peace and serenity and tranquility, and make sense of everything that happens outside of us, which we have no control.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And taking what's outside and just being at ease. It doesn't happen overnight. It didn't happen overnight for me. It took a lot of effort, understanding, finding the right mentors, teachers, being open to learning, and it comes to you. There's a famous quote that I admire. It's so short, precise, and so powerful. It's a Chinese proverb that says that a teacher shall appear when student is ready.
Mm. Yes, I am very familiar with that, and it's so true. At the end of the day, you have to be ready. Mm-hmm.
And teachers don't have to be older than you, more experienced than you, more qualified than you. Teaching can come in from simple. Uh, a child can be a teacher, a bird can be a teacher, and nature can be a teacher once you open yourself up to. And that's where we become as humans. As human, we know we need to see our own potential, as you had mentioned one of my books, Mastering Life, uh, 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 to explore your untapped potential to reach new heights. I often say when I give seminars and lectures, I often say that to audience, if I give you a book rack full of motivational books, would you be motivated? And always, default answer is no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The motivation has to come from inside. So is the learning, the desire to learn, and everything that we want as really um, that enhances us, our humanistic qualities, has to come from inside.
Yeah.
Things can make, gadgets and things can make our life little easier, but the true happiness, which is the part of being human, is realizing your full potentials, living up to them, and finding that balance, as you say, the balance boldly. It's the perfect way to explain that. How to become bold to balance what's out there and what you can find inside. So it's both that bring in.
No, absolutely. I totally agree. So, speaking of your journey to get to this space where you can be ready for all of the teachers that you had to, be a student under, right? Like there's the life teacher that you had just in general. You're a parent, so you obviously had to deal with learning how to parent a kid and all of that, but you're also a business owner and a professional who has very significant experience, and sometimes, as an ambitious woman, which I state that we are, just from the goals and different things that we've hit and we've constantly achieved, and we failed along the way trying to get to those things. Do you feel like the road for you discovering who you were as this woman who could be brave enough to balance boldly, do you feel like that road had some jagged edges where it took a little bit of time, to get there and become who you are today?
Oh, absolutely. It is a journey. First of all, we have to accept or explore ourselves. So I'm just going to step a little bit into the book that I have,
Mm-hmm.
where I write about is the first book, Art of Life, the guide to self-evaluation, self-improvement, and self-realization. So to understand what you want to do, and what would really please you as a human being, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, to to be performing at a level. And I say that because someone can be as happy being a homemaker and be contributing, and that's fine. That's the role they chose, and there's no question in my mind that that's what they chose and they're happy with. Happiness is important as well.
Right.
Yes, in today's world, yes, we need to be productive. We need to be contributing financially, be responsible financially for ourselves and our family and our dependents. Yes, so then you choose a profession. Um, to understand ourselves, where our strengths lie, and where our intentions and desires and ambitions are, I think it requires self analysis. If we
Mm-hmm.
just are in the flow of it, what comes, I can handle it. And so many people are unhappy in their jobs.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're not happy, you're not performing. And, it doesn't matter how many performing systems or trainings are given, it has to come from inside. So I'm a strong believer of that. So
Mm-hmm.
my journey has been um, as a uh, young woman and a student, uh, where I was aiming for, my life took a drastic turn.
Okay.
My higher education was interrupted. I finished my business graduation and was, entering for law school. My life was interrupted. Uh, I was, I was um, disappointed, and I was trying to find meaning. And whatever life had put me into, I was not accepting it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it took 2 years, and finally, I had come to realization that I need to make the best use of my circumstances. And as my spiritual growth from very early, I wouldn't have necessarily called it spiritual growth, but it
Mm-hmm.
was exposure. And it was that sometimes circumstances control you and sometimes you control the circumstances.
Right.
At that stage, when my education was interrupted and I was in a drastically different life circumstances, I understood the circumstances are controlling me, and you sort of give in to the higher order and then make the best use of what life has presented to you. I learned the new things that I really didn't want to,
Like
but
what?
I wanted to become an attorney and specialized in certain areas, and
Mm-hmm.
now I'm here where my education is interrupted and I have access to no resources,
Right.
and I sort of felt captive.
Mm-hmm.
And um, there were no resources available. There was nothing for me to grow, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, when life puts you on a pause button, life is not paused. Actually, something is happening. It's not that you envisioned, but you have to make sense. And now, looking back, I could say, that was my learning uh, period or learning moment in a different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So these were different circumstances, were different teachers than I wanted to be in a law school, right? So life was teaching me now. So kind of looking into it and coming back to your growth matters mindset,
Mm-hmm.
there was an ambition on the underneath of it was my ambition that was interrupted.
Mm-hmm.
Ambition was either dormant, it was always there. And I made whatever became available to me, or the lack of the resources, I made the best use of it, learning from every bit of experiences.
Yeah.
The other really important part of it is that when you look at as a human being at yourself, courage. If you have courage to deal with what life throws at you, or we say life throws at you but what life offers you, like
Right.
good and bad, your courage to accept them as things are and make sense and be the best you could be as a human being, uh, it, at that moment when you are going through it, it may not occur to you.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
over the years, I have connected with fabulous, amazing human beings. And all of us somehow come to an agreement that in the hindsight, looking back, when you go back into memory lane, at that time, maybe you were not happy with how things were shaping up.
Yeah.
What the lessons were there have shaped you who you have become. So the courage to accept things again is key. Another really important quote that I lived by and I live by is the willpower to endure.
One of my absolute favorites. Yes, yes, yes. Go ahead. Keep going.
You see stories, people in refugee camps, people in war-torn areas,
Yes.
and in my TV show, despite the challenges, I have met amazing, amazing people. Every story inspires me. The endurance and the willpower of people makes them grow.
Yeah, it does. I have to back up for a second because, first of all, Ritu, you mentioned so many magnificent points, including acknowledging that when someone doesn't have resources, whatever those are, emotional, spiritual, financial, all of the above, educational, whatever those safety resources, whatever those resources are, it is literally like sucking the oxygen out of the air. And when you can't breathe, it is very difficult to concentrate on growth, right? On growth matters or anything, because you're just trying to survive in that moment. And I want to acknowledge that you highlighted that because I think it's a valuable point, because often sometimes when we have shows and interviews and podcasts and all that, me included, it's so easy to focus on all the oh, let's just get it done this way, but we can in a way come across as if we're dismissing the challenging part of the pain process when someone's in it, and you didn't do that. So I wanted to honor you for that and thank you for not dismissing someone's pain, just because maybe you've gotten through your own pain for that, part of the journey that you were on. So thank you so much. I wanted to honor you for that. I also wanted to highlight something significant you said when you basically, in my own reframing of what you said, is the courage to balance boldly. Like, balance is really admitting what you want and creating the boundaries, to go after it, right? And having the courage to do that, to say, these are my circumstances, and yes, I can't do some things about these parts of it, but I have control of others, especially if I sit back, self-reflect, and take those lessons that I learned from that part of the pain process to be able to heal myself and to move forward, or to get the healing. Maybe you can't heal yourself always, but to get the healing and get the help that you need. And the third part that you said, which was magnificent and significant, is the fact that you came across others who were phenomenal human beings, and you acknowledge that they are not the pain or the problem that they experience. They are not those problems. They are still phenomenal people who went through something, and that you could gather together and encourage each other, which I think is missing for a lot of women entrepreneurs and women high-level career, growth-minded people, right? Like, we often get in these bubbles after we've gotten to a certain place in our life, where circles and coming together and having cohorts or participating in some of the things, like I know that you do retreats and things where you're bringing high-level women together. Those are the safe places where we get to come together and say, I am not my pain or my problem. I have learned from it, and quote unquote, or parentheses, and I am still a phenomenal woman, and let me help you as well. I thought that was just it was worthy of highlighting. So thank you for sharing that.
Naketa, thank you so much. You're so kind. I want to say something.
Mm-hmm.
As my own sense of humor helped me in difficult circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen, so often, and I don't mean any disrespect to our listeners, especially women. We are really good at blaming ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that we should blame others, right? But
Right.
it's life. Accept it.
Right.
Life, it may not be, there may not be somebody to blame, and there is no need for a blame. It's just the circumstances, and our courage, the willpower to endure and persevere, that's what makes us stronger human being. And for the interest of time, we cannot really have long stories here. Everyone has a story.
Mm-hmm.
Some are harder to accept, harder to hear than others. But I think I think the message what I want to give to listeners is that be bigger than circumstances.
Mm, I love that. Be bigger than your circumstances.
Right? It takes a lot of courage. It takes willpower. It takes everything you got. That's why, in my book and in my seminars, we go back to our self-analysis process. And when I was doing it before I wrote the book, my teachers who appeared living and non-living, and what I learned from that, I put together all these analysis processes. Every 3 months I would do, or 6 months, the same areas of my life, I would have different answers.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing that how I grew in short period of time just by learning from those circumstances.
Absolutely. No, 1,000%. And, as a psychotherapist, for my background and obviously all things balance and relationships and intimacy that I do now, that is one of the core foundational steps that we teach as well, is it starts with recognition and being able to look at, your life through a different lens, departed from that narrative that helped us just survive, because now we're trying to thrive. So we have to look at things really differently, and you'll usually come with a different answer. That is perfect. So Ritu, tell everyone, how do you actually take time for yourself and give yourself permission to pause?
Okay, so I think as I said that women as nurturers, we tend to care for others more than sometimes for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. That's in our DNA, and we have to be, as mothers and uh, or caregivers, we need to be those nurturers, but the nurturing should come back to ourselves as well. So we nurturing ourselves is the best way, um, starting with the time a person has to give themselves a self-care time and understand what is the need, the spiritual need, the physical need, or the need to be um, in peace
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that a person has. Is it a time alone? Is it doing something they love to do? It could be reading, it could be writing, it could be poetry, it could be singing, whatever passion, whatever takes them away into a zone that they forget everything else and they're happy.
Absolutely. I 1,000% agree. This is why everyone listening out there in Balance Boldly land, make sure that you connect with Ritu. So, Ritu, how can they connect with you to learn more about you and your work and this sensational stuff that you have coming up soon? How can they connect?
There's two aspects of the work I do. I think my healing came in giving back to community, which I did the series of film that you had mentioned about domestic violence awareness. Our
Mhm.
programs are gender neutral and all inclusive. Men, women, children, all are victims of domestic violence, and there are better ways to heal. There's better ways to resolve. The difference do exist. We don't deny that. First thing is to accept if the differences are there, and then find ways to deal with it, amicable ways to deal with it. And a lot of time that there could be a control or an anger issue, and they are easy to resolve. And
Mhm.
if we and I don't say that if there's so much toxicity, it
Right.
needs more help, right? So but if the differences are minor, if family unity, the love and the relationships are important as well. So those differences can be resolved. So that's one way. That Lead My Way is our website, and we do a lot of outreach events,
Mhm.
symposiums, and others. And on my professional side of it, and that's everything that is for the Lead My Way. That's my healing. That's my
Mhm.
back to community. And on my professional side, as you had mentioned, as being writer and being in corporate IT for 20 plus years, I have had access to the best methodologies that business world can offer. Uh, I learned, but my heart was somewhere else. I wanted to create leaders. I wanted to give back and empower people. So finally, I am at that. life stage. And earlier you had mentioned that, this was a part of a question and a statement you made that does it happen right away or there's a journey? There was a journey. I'm a kind of person that I don't do things half-heartedly.
Right.
I've been preparing for this role for last 12, 13 years.
Yes.
The timings were not right for me to make a transition. I never gave up. I kept adding to my portfolio, my skills, my learning, and when the time came, it's just being aware of what I wanted to do when I grow up or when I have a transition. Is this something? So I invested time into it. So
Yes.
putting my heart wholly and completely into what I do, I think that is your work becomes enjoyable. You gravitate towards people and people gravitate towards you because they find that everything coming from heart, because we as human beings, we are people of emotions, and we need to feel that uh, our soul spirits being alive inside us.
Yes. No, I 1,000% agree. This is why I'm so excited you were on the show. Ritu, thank you so much. I honor your time, your love, your passion, and the fact that you invested in yourself and prepared for this role of being who you are now for the last 13 years. I'm grateful because I got to meet you today and not necessarily, back then before all the lessons kind of added up and seeped in. So I thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It was pleasure being on your podcast. I love it. The balance boldly. I think we need to really, really question ourselves that how bold we are in our balancing process.
No, absolutely. The courage to balance boldly. You said it so well earlier. I thank you so much. I wish we had more time. You and I can, we have done it and we will do it again. We will definitely continue our conversation, and maybe potentially, Balance Boldly listeners, we will have you sneak peek and listen into one of our little virtual kitchen conversations again as well, because it is so many nuggets here. It's just so phenomenal. So in the interim, everyone listening, please, please, please follow up, whether you go to leadmyway.com to get more information on ways to heal and different activities and events that are there for men, women, and children alike that may be going through something similar to what Ritu experienced in her background. Or professionally, she is an incredible woman, by the way. So if you are in business, especially small and family-run businesses that are in a growth space where you are scaling your business in any kind of way and you're dealing with challenges up into the Fortune 500, because that is her background, make sure you connect with her through Everest Consulting Services.com. All the information will be in the show notes below. And if you have any questions, you'll be able to follow up with her through her social media links as well, which we will make sure that we put those in there for you wherever you're listening to this. So again, Ritu, I honor you and I thank you so much for being on Balance Boldly today. Thank you.
Naketa, it was a pleasure being on your show, and I wish you a lot of success for this season and beyond.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, you're so exciting. Balance Boldly listeners, you ambitious women and brave men that are out there, I know that there are few of you, but you are not alone. There are so many of you out there that want more tools to do the work. You are ready and you are willing. You just need the tools. So that's why we have Balance Boldly podcast. It's also why I started the live stream, Let's Talk Intimacy. For any of you who are not aware of it, go to the YouTube. It's very simple, youtube.com/Naketa Thigpen, and you will see the new live stream. It is live, so you hear me talking to people that are asking questions live. Of course, you are welcome to join live as well. It's every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, as best I can, minus vacations and client appointments. But we try to stick to that time. We just started a few weeks ago, so make sure you check out the replays of that, some incredible nuggets to get more information as well. Like, we're literally continuing some of the nuggets from the conversations we have from these experts on Let's Talk Intimacy, as well as some future stuff that's coming up. So stay tuned for that. Of course, if you like what you hear, please subscribe, rate, and share so the other Ambitiously Bold and Brave have access to these valuable life, love, and business balance tools. And as usual, you guys know you can connect with me at Ask Naketa, or just about every platform, IG, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube is just under my full name, Naketa Thigpen. So now go create your balance and create your joy, but remember to do it boldly. Thank you so much for listening.